Hi, I'm Foong. Welcome to my channel, KL Properties with Foong. After helping people buy and sell properties for over 10 years, I've come to realize something. Usually, within the first 30 seconds of entering a unit, I can tell if the buyers are going to fall in love with it. After a while, you just start to notice certain patterns. Now, let me tell you the story that taught me this lesson. When I first started as a real estate agent, I met a very experienced property investor. He had a tenanted unit and wanted me to help him sell it. So I went to view the unit with him. And honestly, I remember that my impression of the unit wasn't great. As we opened the door, the first thing I noticed was it was very, very dark. And the whole place felt cluttered, too much furniture. And I even noticed there were like old stains, old watermark stains on the ceiling. Whole place just felt really tired. So I remember myself telling this seller that, hey, I'm not very sure this place is going to sell unless you drop the price significantly. He smiled and said, don't worry, Foong, my tenant is moving out soon. And the next line, he said, stayed with me till today. Once the tenant moves out, I will empty the unit, give it a fresh coat of paint, make sure the unit is clean, the lights are working, the bathroom do not smell. And trust me, Foong, you will be able to sell it. I've done this many times. It works. He sounded very confident, but to be honest, I wasn't convinced. As a young real estate agent, I was thinking, oh no, I'm getting a listing that I'm going to have a really hard time to sell. But we followed his advice anyway. A few weeks later, I opened the front door again, and I couldn't believe it was the same unit. The moment I opened the front door, whole place felt bright. Fresh coat of paint, all the lights are working. The unit they have removed all the furniture. So it looks really, really spacious compared to before. And you can't smell any foul smell at all. He was totally right. We did not need to slash the asking price, and we sold it around the market price at that time. That was one of the biggest lessons I've learned early in my career. Okay, fast forward to recently. I saw a unit in Mont Kiara, a condo unit, for 1.6 million ringgit. Most comparable units of similar size had been selling for around 1.2 to 1.3 million ringgit. This unit was not on a high floor, didn't have a great view, and it was relatively on a low floor, plus there was a number 4 in the unit number. So why was this unit selling above market price? And why was the buyer willing to pay so much more? Well, the buyer had already watched my video of the unit. They loved it and shortlisted it. All they wanted to do was to come and see and view the condo in person to make sure that it lived up to their expectations. At that point, the tenant was still living there. So the actual viewing was very short. All they wanted to do was to make sure that the actual unit looked exactly like it did in the video that they loved. And it did. The owner spent more than 300,000 ringgit furnishing and renovating the unit. And it really showed. Now, I'm not saying that all the owners should go out there and spend 300,000 ringgit on renovations. But think about it. If the buyers had bought a similar unit at around 1.2 million ringgit, they probably would have ended up spending at least 300,000 ringgit or more on furnishings and renovations just to achieve the same result. On top of that, they will need to spend months dealing with contractors, making decisions, and also waiting for the renovations to be completed. The buyers were an expat family living in the same condo that they bought for a couple of years. They knew the area, they knew the market, and they definitely knew they were paying above the market price. But after weighing everything up, to them, the convenience was worth paying for. Over the years, I've noticed that one of the best signs isn't when the buyers are asking me, about the price of the unit. It is when they stop talking to me and start talking to each other. The husband goes, "This is where I want my new recliner to go." Then the wife pointed out, "This could be our daughter's room." And then the next thing you know, the children are fighting over who gets which bedroom. At that point, I know they are no longer looking at your property, but they're imagining it as their own. When buyers start to imagine themselves living there, one small thing can get in the way, and that is family photographs. Sometimes I advise the owners before a viewing to remove some family photographs or trophies or certificates that is sitting out there. Because not because there's anything wrong with it. It's just that when the buyers enter the home and see all these personal items, they cannot imagine it as their own. They're thinking, "Oh, I'm entering someone else's home." I want buyers to stop seeing your families and start imagining it as their own. There's another mistake I see quite often. Owners are naturally proud of their homes. And hey, there's nothing wrong with that too. But sometimes they can get a little bit too enthusiastic during the viewing, following us around and over explaining about every small detail of the house. Like how much the kitchen costs, why is it so special. What usually happens is the more they talk, the quieter the buyers become. Buyers start to feel a bit shy, like they are walking on eggshells when the owners follow them everywhere they go. Sometimes the best thing you can do is simply give the buyers space to explore. Let them walk around, stand on the balcony, and picture their own life there. And if they have any specific questions, they can always get back to the agent and the agent can ask you for the answers. Another thing I've noticed is this. Many owners believe that if they were to price their property below market value, the buyers will immediately queue up. Not only that, they expect that the property will sell very quickly. From my experience, that's not always what happens. I've seen genuinely good value units stay on the market much longer than expected. Why is that? Because buyers become suspicious. Why is it so cheap? Is there something wrong with the unit? What's the hidden problem? Eventually, the right buyer comes along. Usually it's someone a little bit more experienced in investing and they can see beyond the cosmetic issues and also have done their due diligence. So, being the cheapest doesn't always mean selling the fastest. Well, I've realized that it's often the little things that makes the biggest difference. Things as simple as making sure the home smells fresh. The curtains are drawn, the lights are switched on, and the bathrooms are clean. None of these are expensive, but together they give buyers confidence. In fact, as an exclusive agent, if a unit is vacant, I will drop by every now and then just to flush the toilets. I know it sounds like a small thing, but if a buyer walks into the unit and the first thing they noticed is a foul smell, that is often the only thing they remember. If there's one thing I've learned over the years, is people don't simply buy a property. They buy a feeling. Location attracts buyers. Price get them through the door. But it's the feeling they get when they walk through the front door the first time that determines whether they make an offer. When buyers stop looking at your home and start to picture as theirs, that's usually when the sale begins. Thanks for watching. If you have enjoyed this video, don't forget to press the subscribe button. And if you're looking to buy, sell, or rent properties in Kuala Lumpur, drop me a WhatsApp message. My number is on the screen. Other than that, my name is Foong. I'll see you in my next one. Bye-bye.